Let's examine dividing complex numbers. To do this, we're going to look at complex numbers with real denominators, or that means denominators that are real numbers. And we're also going to look at complex numbers with imaginary number denominators. Now let's get to it. So when we divide real complex numbers with real number denominators, we're going to treat it as if we're just simplifying a fraction. So what we're going to do here is try to factor the numerator. When we factor the numerator, we have 4 as a common factor. This is 3i minus 4, and we divide this by 18. So we have a factor of 2, 9. So this is going to give us 2 times 3i minus 4 over 9, which we can also distribute as 6i minus 8 over 9. Now let's take a look at this one here. We have common factor here is going to be 16, and then we have 3i plus 4 divided by 32. Now we divide this through. 16 here is 1, 16 here is 2. So this is 3i plus 4 over 2. What about this one here? We now have we have an imaginary number in the denominator. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by I to get rid of the imaginary number in the denominator. So 12i minus 16 divided by 18i. So we're multiplying the numerator by I and the denominator by I. You can see that this should make sure that the fraction is unchanged because I over I is 1. So what we have now is 12i minus 16 over 18i times I. So this is going to give us 12i squared minus 16i divided by 18i squared. Just a quick reminder, I squared is equal to -1. So this is going to give us 12 multiplied by -1 minus 16 over 18 multiplied by -1. This is going to give us the 16i over here. -12 minus 16 divided by -18. This is I right here. So we can factor out the negative. So let's look at this. Negative of 12 plus 16i over -18. So we now have, let's continue right about here. We have 12i plus 16. 12 plus 16i over 18, which is going to give us 2, 6 plus 8i over 18, which is equal to 6 plus 8i over 9. Now let's take a look at this. Same method follows. So 48i plus 64 over 32i multiplied by I over I is going to give us 48i squared plus 64i divided by 32i squared. This is going to give us -48 plus 64i divided by -32. So we can factor out the negative sign here. It's going to give us 48 minus 64i divided by negative 32. So let's factor out 16. So we have 16, 3 minus 4i divided by 32, because this negative cancels out. So now we have 3 minus 4i over 2. Let's try this example here. 72i minus 48 over negative 32i. Going to multiply numerator and denominator by I. That's going to give us 72i squared minus 48i over negative 32i squared. This is going to give us 72 multiplied by negative 1 minus 48i over negative 32 multiplied by negative 1. So negative 72 minus 48i divided by 32. I'm going to use 8 as a common factor here. So we have 8, we have negative 9 minus 6i divided by 32. So we're now left with negative 9 minus 6i divided by 4, because we cancel 8, we divide 8 by 8 1, and we divide 32 by 8 4 times. So that is how you divide complex numbers.